as promised earlier today, I am out here doing a live panning session. Everyone had a bit of a vote whether they wanted to see me clean up some sluice concentrates, which we can guarantee some gold, or crush some conglomerate. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be crushing a piece of conglomerate. Everyone wanted to see that. So this is the piece of conglomerate that I am going to crush up today. Now, we better give you guys some background on what this actually is. Conglomerate is a matrix of soil that has been shifted by water that has been allowed to sit for such an extensive period of time, it turns into something very similar to bedrock or cement. Now, conglomerate, because it was shifted by water, is just exactly the same as working in a creek bed, except for the density. Obviously, it's being rock solid. Now, that means that depending on where this piece of conglomerate was sitting within that conglomerate channel, it may or may not have gold. So just like a river will give you gold if you're hunting on the inside bend, and it might not give you very much on the outside bend, that is the same principle that we're working with this. It's not hard rock where we can go in and take this and be guaranteed that there is going to be gold there. Now, in the hours that we've put in up there so far, which between Mick Gadsey and I, we're probably 30 plus hours exploring that area, we found that gold is pretty much everywhere. Even if you're only getting one or two specks, I don't think we've really been skunked on any pans. We're getting at least micro gold at the very, very minimum. So what we're going to do to process this is put this in the dolly pot, and we're going to crush it up, and we're going to classify. I'll spin you around in a second, and I'll show you all the tools that we're going to be using. Now, I've got a little bit of an incentive for today. I think my record for a live stream was about 570 viewers. If we can get to 600 viewers and 1,000 likes on this live stream, I'll give away a piece of this conglomerate. So this is a piece of conglomerate that came out from the same exact spot that this is. I'll ship this anywhere in the world. Hopefully it gets through your customs. So it's up to you guys. If you wanna take home a piece of this, let's get to 600 viewers and see if we can't get 1,000 likes on the stream. I'll spin you guys around, and I'm going to show you all the tools that we're using. Now, there's a lot of people here, so g'day to everyone who is tuning in right now. Thank you very much for joining the stream. It's a little bit tricky for me to read comments and do all this stuff at the same time, so don't mind me. If I've still got voice left at the end of this, we'll spin it around and we'll have a bit of a chat and do some Q&As. And I've also got 3 dogs here that could explode with noise at any point in time. All right, spinning that around. Here we are. This is our basic equipment setup. Over here, I have a 20 mesh, as you can see here, 20 mesh classifier. And that's going to be sitting in our gold pan, and we're going to classify down. Now, I want to use the gold claw pan today just for a little bit of fun and something a little bit different. You could obviously use a regular pan if that's what you wanted. I've got a snuffer bottle for my gold, and I've got a snuffer bottle to take up any tailings that we might have to get rid of in the pan. I've got a pan full of water. This is our panning pan, and down there I have my dolly pot with just a steel bar. So I figured that a nice small surface area on the end of my crushing bar would probably help me reduce this conglomerate down pretty dang easy. Now, we're going to do this pretty simply. It's not hard rock, so it shouldn't be as difficult to break down. We're just going to put it in there and start whacking it. Better adjust the camera too, so you guys can see this a little bit better. Don't mind my extraordinarily squeaky chair. There we go, something like that. I got the dolly pot sitting on some cardboard as well, because I don't think the landlord would appreciate a big dolly pot hole smashed in his concrete. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Now that's interesting. This is something that's really worth showing you guys. This is what you call a fine-grained matrix. Now, the chances are that this sample this particular sample was actually taken out of a support pillar. So the old timers had to leave support pillars in between their workings, and the reason they did that was obviously to hold the rest of the worthless conglomerate or the low grade conglomerate up off them so it didn't fall down on top of them. Now we took this sample out from right where the conglomerate impacted the bedrock. The amazing thing about bedrock, especially granites like this one, is that the granite over time will become extremely soft when water runs over the top of it, and it will allow rocks to permeate down into the bedrock itself. And you can see a hole from where the rock, or a rock, was sitting just there. So this matrix isn't 100% conglomerate. Some of this is actually bedrock with river gravel that has sunk down into that soft bedrock over time. When you're working a creek, you have to keep this in mind, because the bedrock itself, even when you get to it, if it's the right kind of bedrock, if it's the bedrock that allows itself to become softer over time, you can actually get gold down up to like 6 feet into the bedrock. You won't be able to work that far with hand tools. You'll need machinery, but it points to the top couple of inches are usually worth trying to break up and scrape out or yabby pump off the bottom, because this stuff here can have gold in it even though it's actually bedrock. All right. Now, I did a little sample of this earlier, so this is what this classification's for. This sample looked exactly like what this did at the start. I just wanted to see if this process would work well, and it seems to. All right, so we're expecting a lot of gravel in this. So obviously we're not gonna spend too much time making sure every single stone in there is smashed to bits. There's no point. We just want this stuff, the matrix, to be completely reduced to powder. And these sort of stones we don't need to worry about. How did you get in there? Back in there. So 20 mesh, honestly, for this kind of ground is probably a little bit harsh. But it's not. I could probably run a 10 mesh or even a 1/4 inch sieve, because we're not dealing with hard rock, so we don't have to get it to that talcum powder state. We just have to get it down to dirt. But it is what it is. Ooh, we created some powder that time. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? Hell yeah. That's most of that powder. We'll just pull some of these bigger rocks out. Alright, have a quick look at these. Okay, so these are the ones we definitely want to pay attention to. It might be a little bit hard to make it out on camera, but there is an orange color, an orange staining. That's an oxide staining. Now, that means iron or similar sort of minerals. And when you get that red staining, it's a much better chance that you're going to find gold in this conglomerate, just like you would in hard rock, because gold tends to follow iron. So in hard rock, you look for it because iron is what helps the gold fall out of the solution and solidify into the quartz vein. But in this case, the iron indicates that that's where the heavies dropped out. So something oxidized in and around this section, so there could be gold in it. And that's the sort of comps that we definitely want to get broken down. All right, we'll run that through again. Oh, no, not on the bare cement, Chris. Come on, do your job. There we go. All right, we are looking pretty healthy. This here, this sort of pinky, I'm going to call it pinky grey. Well, that better not be another bee fern, I'll tell you what. This sort of pinky grey stuff is actually out of the bedrock. So it's a granite-based bedrock. And that means, I'm going to get my geology wrong here. Feldspar? Is it feldspar? Either way, that's your bedrock. So I'm not really interested in reducing these solid chunks down. They haven't got any value in them. There's not going to be any gold within that crystal. The other stuff I'm interested in, though, is this sort of finer grain stuff on the other side. Whilst it's primarily, by the looks of it, made up of this same material, just on a smaller scale, these tiny little pieces could have gold trapped in them because they'll have things like clay attached to them. So we're sort of just going to do a rough hand sieve and get out the big rocks and then just tip the rest of this stuff in there, because we've definitely reduced it enough to release probably 95% of the gold. Now we're not recrushing, I'm just getting these out of the way so they don't take up any room in our pan. And obviously I can check all this stuff later for any nuggets. Now a lot of people have been asking me about nuggets when it comes to this area and if I'm metal detecting there. We are metal detecting, primarily more for relics. The geology in this area is completely non-conducive to creating large pieces of gold. So I have spent the last 6 years doing this full time, and in that time I found perhaps 15 pieces of gold with a metal detector, none of which were anywhere near this area. I've never found a piece bigger than 0.2 in this area. Alright, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So we can just add that to this. Easy as. Put that over there. Put that back in there. Ooh. Alright. Now just for fun, we are going to use the gold claw pan. So we should get a couple of pans worth of dirt out of this. We'll reset the camera up. Wow. Bam. Alright. So the offer still stands, guys. If we can get the stream to 600 viewers, then we'll give away a piece of this conglomerate. We're at 272. That's pretty dang, like 50% of the way there. So let's do our first pan. Well, that looks like it's mostly made up of the big stuff. We'll do it in two. I won't completely fill it. Why not? We can do that. This is going to turn this water to absolute mud too. Better stand up, a bit easier. I love the Gold Claw pocket pans. I'm a big fan of these pans. I think the design works really well, especially for small scale sampling and cleanups of sluice concentrates and whatnot. I think this works really well. However, I'm not a big fan of the bigger ones. I feel like they've got a few design problems that could be sorted out. just for those who are wanting to know. Clint, though, the inventor of the gold claw pan, is an absolutely brilliant and incredibly generous guy. I cannot speak more highly of Clint. So we're going to give this a few passes just to make sure everything's settled down to the bottom. The gold here isn't minuscule either, so it's got a nice particle size, but it's also not huge. Like, it's not, you're not going to get these massive chunks. It's just nice, fine, flaky gold. And the gold is running at about 98% purity, 97.5 to 98.5%. Pretty good. Very, very pure gold. Now, we should be at a stage where we may be seeing a little bit of black sand at the back there, I think. Oh yeah, look at that. Can you guys see that? We've got all kinds of black sand. So that's cassiterite, which is the tin. I can see a few little gemstones and what looks like ironstone in the back as well. And tourmaline. They look like shattered pieces of tourmaline. They're probably broken up because I hit it with the with the crusher. But yeah, what can you do? Look at that. Look at the black. Oh yeah. All right. That's about enough for this side, so we'll get that back down. And we'll use the fine riffle side. Yeah. 300 viewers. Dang, people. Welcome to my backyard. Alright. Go nice and gentle. Oh, wow. We might do, you know what, before we do the reveal, let's just tip the rest of it in. Why not? We can do that. We're adults, right? We can make these choices. Ooh, yeah. This is exciting. I like this sort of stuff. So, honestly, if we were to work the conglomerate, it by hand, which is what we legally have to do here in Victoria on a prospecting license, is only use hand tools, and I can't claim the area, and even if I could, it'd cost me 100 grand. So there's some of the questions that have been getting asked about this area. This is just a hobby, right? It's a lot of fun doing this sort of stuff. It's really interesting seeing what kind of gold is left in the ground, and that's primarily why we do it. It's not about making oodles and oodles and oodles of money from gold, but this has a lot of potential. This area has a lot of potential for hobby prospectors who just want to get a little bit of gold and have a good day out with their mates. You know, you're gonna walk away with a quarter gram or a half gram every time you go up there, and that's what this is about. If I was to claim it, I'll be bringing in a excavator with a jackhammer bit and absolutely smashing all of the conglomerate that's left, because there is a lot of conglomerate. You can see that they just went in chasing the best pay streak. I just saw Aimsley, yeah, Aimsley 85. Don't delete it. I will not delete this one. I can't believe I stuffed that up. I'm still kicking myself. I was shattered. I was a broken man after that. Whoa, yeah, we got heaps and heaps and heaps of black sand in this. You can actually feel the weight shifting in the bottom of the pan. I'm just taking my time with this too, guys. You can run these pans a lot faster, but I'm enjoying it. Look at the black. Look at how coarse that is. So this deposit's 2.6 million years old. So it's pretty dang old. And that is some coarse tin. Look at that. That's amazing. That is absolutely unreal. Hey, we might actually, just for the sake of the reveal, we'll tip this into the other pan. And then that way we can get a really accurate reveal for any gold that may be in there. Alright, that looks pretty clean to me. Here we go, guys. Yeah, I reckon. All right. Or let's clean it. Let's clean it down the whole way. Let's do that. We can do that. Again, we're adults. We can make these decisions. All right, here we go. This is where we find out if there's any gold. So remember, that was a very small piece of conglomerate, maybe only a couple 100 grams worth. And it's given us all of that black sand and a heap of iron. Heaps of iron. Look at that. All this brown stuff up the front is ironstone. And then you've got those broken bits of tourmaline and cassiterite at the back. Super exciting. I love this. Haven't seen any gold yet though. Again, no guarantee of gold. You don't know, it was a small piece. Oh, we got gold. We got gold. Look at that. Oh, bit off my dolly pot. That is a nice big hunk of some kind of very, very dense metal. Alright, there we go. Now, again, this is a tiny piece of conglomerate and not guaranteed from the richest of richest spots. I need more water in that. But we got gold. Hopefully you guys are going to be able to see it on camera. This is our gold up here. So, if we do a quick spec count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34 specks of gold there. Now, yeah, they're fine. They are fine. There's a lot of catchable gold in there, but it's extraordinarily fine. There you go. Good stuff. I'm excited about that. And this is just what it's all about, right? We'll turn the camera around. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. This is what it's all about, like exploring. You never know what you're going to kick over. It's the great thing about prospecting is that the very next time you go out, you might find something amazing, and then you might get skunked for 5 times in a row, and that's what makes finding that really exciting bit even better. Now, I've got heaps more conglomerate. I'm even going to make a short little video regarding this where I put all the detail that I put into this live stream, but a little bit more concise and well constructed. So I'm going to upload a little video based on crushing it from another area that's giving us really good grades, really decent grades. So with a little bit of luck, that'll be good. I'll make sure Fern's not into another bee. She ate a bee today. It cost me $600. It was fun. Fern, wait. Come on. Come on. Fernie. Yeah, Bee King. Green histamine. I'm asking you to walk this way. Because you can't be trusted anywhere near those daisies. Nope, you can't. Seriously. Check out how fat her face is. Look at it. Yeah. Show them. Show them how big. Yeah, that side. I've already spent $600 on getting her done with all sorts of injections and stuff, but anyway, what can you do? And now she's just determined to go over to that patch over there and get bitten again, because that's just what dogs do. So, questions, guys. Have you got any questions? And I'll just hang out and drink some water and rehydrate my throat. And I'll look at the chat. Jimmy, no, I have got no experience with andesite-based gold deposits. You know what, the thing that I learned a while ago, I got really confused when I first started prospecting because everyone was talking in these geological terms. Everyone was talking in terms of the proper names and stuff for different types of rock. And whilst I've learnt many of them over the years doing this, I realized it's not really that important, because at the end of the day, what counts is your on-the-ground research, and your on-the-ground research is all about taking a pan out and just sampling everything. And eventually what happens is you build up this sort of mental picture. So if you're just starting out, don't stress so much about the big words. Just focus your efforts on building up your mental mud map of what usually and what usually does not hold gold. And the names be damned, because at the end of the day, knowing the name isn't going to help you. Well, there we go. Questions? That's a good one. Ainsley85, the jaw crusher, which is right there that you're talking about, he wants to know if it's worth the investment for $900. No. It's good. It is really good. So there's a couple of reasons that you would take this over. Nope. Nope, back on bed. Thank you. There's a couple of reasons you would take this jaw crusher over, say, like the RC1 that I've got in the garage. The RC1 is big, it requires petrol, it's heavy, and it's very, very sort of time consuming to use in different ways. So you would use that if you were going out on a really big project. If you are traveling or you are going to a camp and you need space on the car and you don't want to lug that much weight around, then something like this is perfect. So it really depends on your situation. Having had both, I can see uses for both, and I use both of them for different things. Tiny little sample crushers, I use the jaw crusher from Gold Rat. But for bigger lots, we use the RC1. But if it's just like a single rock, I'll use a dolly pot. So it really, really depends on what you want to achieve with it. It's not a production unit, it's a sample unit. And that's important to remember. Scroll it down, guys. Scroll down. There's no opal in my area at all. Is there gold in Wangaratta? Absolutely, there is. But most of it's deep lead stuff. We're going down, we're going down, we're going down. Oh God, I'm speed reading here, guys. Paul, that's an interesting question. Yes and no is the answer to your question. Can you legally break off the entire piece of overhanging conglomerate and put it in your ute and take it away? No, you can't take it away. That's the kicker. You can, if you've got hand tools, you can do it. You're allowed to. There's no soil limit in Victoria for how much you're allowed to shift per day. They wanted to introduce that law. They never did. They did introduce that law of 1 cubic metre per person every 48 hours in New South Wales. Good luck trying to enforce that, Parks, New South Wales. But here in Victoria, you can dig as much as you want as long as it's done by hand. The kicker is that you're not allowed to move dirt off site. That's the key. Like, you can't load a trailer up and piss off out of the bush, because that stops people digging sand and stuff for their driveways and road base and whatnot. This is a little bit different because we're talking about taking away like less than a pan's worth of dirt, which is what your prospecting license allows you to do, extract the minerals from an area. So I would say it's a yes and no, kind of semi-grey area. I'm just going to skip to the bottom. There we go. Detectable. That's a good question. Okay, so Detectables is asking if Dan Hurd is making videos to promote his shop more than to go prospecting. And you know what? I can only talk about this from my point of view, right? So this is not coming from Dan Hurd, and in fact, I'm not even really going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about me, because this is what is really important. People are saying that he's turning into a sellout. Well, no. No, he's not. He's not. There's nothing wrong with making money. I think this is the stigma that has to be broken, because we all need it to live, right? And I think what most people have a problem with is that when you get to a stage where you become successful on a platform like YouTube, there's I'm not going to say the word jealousy. It's not jealousy. It's you connected with that creator because at the start they felt like they were more of an obtainable person. That's what I get from my point of view. Is that when I've followed people like Alex Steele, who does blacksmithing, I started following him when he had like 20,000 subs, and now he's over a million, right? And at the start he was really obtainable, and now the productions and stuff feel a lot more commercial, and they feel he feels like he's very difficult to get hold of. Like he used to chat in his comments and whatnot, and he still does that, but you don't get a reply, right? And on my end, so doing this and reaching the level I've reached, I've had 140 million views in the last 3 months on just Facebook, and it brings a lot of people that try and contact you and try and talk to you, and it's next to impossible to get back to everyone. Well, it is impossible. You can't do it. It's just not. There's not enough hours in the day for me to do stuff like this, and then still train and play with Fern, and go and read the book that I want to go and read, and have a shower and eat food, go food shopping, and drive to the locations I got to go. I've still got to live a life, and so it does make you a little bit. It makes you seem like you're less obtainable, because even though I'm putting in more effort now than what I was 2 or 3 years ago in terms of getting back to people and trying to be available, I'm putting more effort in, I'm putting more hours in, but there's so many more people that it doesn't make that same sort of splash. So when you're talking about Dan selling out because he wants to pursue selling stuff in his shop, well then that might be what he's enjoying. I know that he likes polishing and making his gemstones and making his jewelry, and I know that he enjoys making videos, and I know that he's proud of his work. And from my observation and from my point of view, being on the same side as Dan, like in terms of our business, our business. So we're on the same, exactly the same thing, which is YouTube. We make our living off YouTube. The thing is that we're super proud of our work, because you have to be to create as much as we do, to put the hours in and make the effort. So for all intents and purposes, I don't feel like Dan Hurd's changed. I think that he's evolved, which I suppose has changed. This is a complicated subject. I don't think he's sold out. I haven't seen him do anything that I would constitute a sellout. Like, he's done some advertising promotions for things that do fit, like in terms of doing things like Olight and whatnot. And I don't see a problem with that. I mean, a million prospectors need bloody lights and stuff. I use a heap of different torches and stuff for night detecting and for going into mines and whatnot. So it's all been relevant advertising, I feel. He hasn't made any effort to sell like stuff that isn't relevant to his hobby, and he's also putting in all the work himself. It's exactly the same as Shane starting his pay dirt business. Shane's making pay dirt bags. It's a lot of work to make pay dirt bags. I stopped all that stuff because it was too much work. It was really, really difficult. So I honestly think that it comes down to perspective. I can see why people would feel jaded looking at someone from the outside who's dealing with the stuff that we are on the inside, because there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it than you guys see on your end of it. There's a lot more. We're talking working 100-hour week to not work the 40. So I hope that was really not clear and concise like I'd like it to be, but it's a complicated thing, and it's something that I wrestle with a lot. It's something that I go through every day. I talk to Gadsy about it and whatnot all the time, just how difficult it can be, especially when you miss important stuff, you miss important messages, or you miss important comments that really do need to be addressed, and then people get cranky at you, really angry, and it's a lot to handle sometimes. It's a hell of a lot to handle. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. Actually, that's a really good point, man. Yeah, Dan had heart surgery, and that always causes people to reevaluate their lives and priorities, for sure. Lancer, yeah, look, the laws are insane when it comes to some of the prospecting stuff in here in Australia. I think it's pretty accurate to say that we've got a lot of nanny states when it comes to prospecting laws. Mick put it perfectly the other day to me. He said about dredging. So we met someone out in the creek and they were talking about dredging, which is illegal. It's been illegal in Australia since 1991, and we don't think it should be illegal. What we think is that they should introduce laws that make dredging responsible. So, for instance, you must backfill your hole, right? You must have a permit for doing it, and the permit costs like $100 or something like that, and it puts money into Parks Victoria. And you have to, I don't know, prove it by taking photos or something. Just laws, right? If you put in some basic rules and regulations around what you could do legally, you wouldn't have people doing it illegally. And there's a really big problem is that when you allow people to do stuff illegally, they're already looking at consequences, right? They're already looking at loss of their car and their equipment and possible jail time and big fines. They're already looking at all that. So why wouldn't you just go hell for leather? Whereas if it was legal and you had a level of rules saying, hey, you can do this and there's going to be no consequences at all, but we need you just to like chill out and look after nature a little bit. That allows for people to go, oh, I am allowed to do it. So if I just follow the rules, I won't get in trouble. And then there's no reason for them to go and absolutely smash the little creeks and rivers in the area that has gold. So that's what I think about that. Oh, Chris, $2 super chat. Thank you very much, bro. Mad Marlin, $10 super chat. You have to make a living. Yeah, exactly. There's no, yeah. I don't want to go full circle again, but there is no point. There is no point making people who are making a living for themselves feel bad. It's not right. Like you shouldn't do that. It's like if for some reason there seems to be this attitude that if you're making a living on YouTube, you should feel guilty. Like that's what I get that kind of correspondence a lot. And it's a strange thing to get because it's like not like I would go and make a doctor feel guilty for doing a really good job and making money from his career. I mean, it's just not right. But anyway, whatever. Sean Felton, how do you scare off a snake? Walk like a herd of elephants. That's how you do it. Brooke, you're drinking water and not beer. Yeah, because I'm healthy, Brooke. Very healthy. We're reading, guys. That's what the concentration phase is for. I was going to hit that bottom button. There we go. Beard's coming back. I actually trimmed it today, man. So it's not really coming back. That's a good one. Steve Scott, what's the best site to know where you can and can't prospect? The short answer is there isn't one because because every state governs in Australia, every state governs their mining and prospecting laws differently. So it means that there are like 7 different bodies for mining. In Victoria, we have Earth Resources, there's the exempt rivers and streams list. At best, that is an incredibly grey area. An incredibly grey area. Um, because what it says is that you are not allowed to go on every creek and river in Victoria. It literally says that you are not allowed to prospect anywhere near a waterway. Yet, on the same website, they've got maps of creeks that you can prospect on that are the same creeks that are on the exempt list. So, my word of advice is to go to that exempt list and look if you're in Victoria. If you're not in Victoria, then I can't help you. I'm afraid. But if you're in Victoria, get onto Earth Resources, look at the exempt rivers and streams list. Then there's a whole database section in the same area that has those maps that says where you are allowed to go, and you sort of just overlay the two, and you kind of read between the lines, because there's like, oh, you're allowed to go on this 500-meter section of this creek, and you're allowed to go over there. That's how you got to do it. It's really, really shitty. It's a me. This is a good question too. What about gravity dredging? Um, there is a document from 1989, I believe, that outlays the entire law for what they proposed to get banned when it came to dredging, which they passed in 1991. Now, that initial document only outlaws one kind of dredge head. Again, this is a grey area, and it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to be the test case in court for doing it. But theoretically speaking, gravity dredging is fine because you are not using a motor. The laws in Victoria state that you are not allowed to use mechanical means to excavate, which includes things like dredges, because you've got a pump on the end of your hose creating the suction. If you're using gravity and a pipe, theoretically speaking, there is no engine. There's no mechanical anything going on there. It's literally just gravity, right? So theoretically, you could do that. I'm not going to put that on film, and I'm not going to be the test case for it. But if someone gets away with it, let me know. Jim, no, we don't talk about that, to be honest. Um, Jim's just asking about how screwed up Australia is at the moment, and that's a very hot, touchy subject that we won't go into. Mm. But the short answer is, actually, there's one thing I need to say about that. I wouldn't believe everything you see in international media. Like, if you, yeah, just don't believe everything. Like, take it with a grain of salt. Take it from an Australian that whilst things are not great here, they're also not as bad as what they're being made out to be. Uh, liters per minute rating on my water pump depends on which pump, bro. I use everything from a 700 gallon an hour all the way up to a 3500. So it just depends. Aussie Gold Potato Pan. Yeah, look, the you know why that is? The reason that you okay, why is it that creeks that you can prospect in are the only ones without gold and vice versa? That's because the government knows, right? Um, they know. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of water rights issues. When you read some of the history, even just in my area of the water rights issues, you know, the Beechworth goldfields were the creation for the Victorian Water Board. So, like, there's water rights issues, there's farmers' rights issues that are involved in it. There are a lot of things that are happening that are preventing you from going into creeks, and most of it is a lot of hysteria from people who have not spent any time in the bush, and they think that mining involves a dump truck and an excavator, and that you're going to completely destroy the landscape. When, as we all know, as hobby prospectors, you can literally do almost no damage to the creek. No, no, you couldn't do as much damage to a creek in a month as what it would do to itself in a day of heavy rain. So it just is what it is at the moment. If you want to fight it, you're going to have to join some of the prospecting and mining groups. So the PMAV here in Victoria, and they're doing all kinds of work to get these laws sorted out. No, I can't use a battery operated hammer drill. That is one question I've been asked about a million times. For the same exact reason, I am not allowed to use mechanical equipment. You are not allowed to use jackhammers or hammer drills or anything like that to excavate dirt. Hungarian ripple sluices. I don't know too much about them, man. Thoughts on Hungarian ripple sluices? I don't know. Put some links up and I'll have a bit of a look, and then I'll give you some thoughts next time. I was just reading some of the people were like, I wish there was more gold in that conglomerate. Don't we all wish there was more gold in that conglomerate? Man, like, but it is what it is. There was a fist-sized piece of conglomerate and it still gave us 30 odd stacks. Yeah, Mick, that's exactly right. Historically, there was a ban building too close to the creeks and rivers in the gold rush. That has been hijacked and assumed it was prohibition against prospecting them in Victoria. Exactly. In fact, in the 1970s, I read this out on my Facebook page. In the 1970s prospecting guide published by the New South Wales government, it even says that you're allowed to build a cabin. You are allowed to have two cows and two horses on your prospecting area on a prospecting license, which is what we use, or a miner's right. If you have a miner's right, you're allowed to build a cabin, have two cows and two horses where you're working until you vacated that land. So if you went home that night, you'd have to pull your cabin down and remove your cows. But if you lived in that cabin while you were prospecting in the creek, you could do that. And that was in 1970. So we're not that far out of that really, and we have turned into a massive nanny state when it comes to gold prospecting. It's quite unfortunate. It's really frustrating that. I think it would be nice to go back there. That guide, that 1970s prospecting guide by the New South Wales government, I have to say that again, shows you how to make a cyanide leach. It shows you how to use mercury and build a mercury retort. It shows you how to blast. It shows you how to timber a shaft. And all of that was done based off what I currently hold, which is a miner's right. So no claims, no nothing. You could do that on public land. And that's some laws. I wish. I'd love to go blasting in some areas. All right, we might almost leave it there, guys. We'll give it a couple more minutes. We'll round it up at like the 50-minute mark. So if you've got questions, now is the time. Brad, where's up this way? You got to tell me where that is so I can know, so I can ask if I do go up that way. 48th state. Yeah, I don't do pay dirt at the moment, man. But I can see everyone wanting a crack at these black sands once I show the black dog pay dirt that I'm putting together, because it is diabolical. Diabolical. It is going to be absolutely insane for people to handle. I've never been prospecting in Queensland, man. Does panning at Sovereign Hill count? Yes, it does. Oh, see, that would be awesome in the 90s. A blasting permit was 20 minutes at the local rural cop shop, and then you got the boom stuff and off you went. That'd be wicked. Oh, bro, yeah, I want to visit Shane. It'd be so much fun to go prospecting in Colorado. I'm nowhere near a beach, Jimmy, unfortunately, so I don't prospect on beaches. Canadian gold prospector. When am I going back to Canada? Well, once there's actually airplanes flying, flying out of Australia. Reg, man, it is no joke. The black sands that I get from Reedy Creek are insane. All right, we're gonna leave it there, guys. I think that will do. Um, Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the start of the video crushing up some of this conglomerate. It's a hell of an interesting deposit to have found. It's pretty surprising to me that we're still finding relatively significant amounts of gold in it. And I think there's going to be some good days up there once we get a proper system worked out. We've got the nuts and bolts of the system worked out. Now we just got to refine it. And once we do that, I think we're going to see some pretty decent cleanups from it. But it's just going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of effort. We've also got a heap of content coming out of Reedy Creek in the near future. I've got several videos planned that are high banking. We've got in backlog at the moment. I've got ore crush videos and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm looking forward to bringing you all of that. Well, until next time, I'm going to end this stream, and I'm hopefully not going to delete it after I finish it. That's the goal. And I will see you guys later. Stay safe, and I'm going to hit that off button once I find it. Never find it on my phone. Bye, guys. Turning off. Drinking water.